Hi everybody, welcome back to Tunes Reviews. Today we're going to be talking about my favorite time of the year, fall, and my top 10 picks for the beautiful, wonderful season that it is. Stay tuned. So fall for me is a very nostalgic time of the year. My fiance and I absolutely love fall. We're very Halloween type people. It's Halloween year round in our house. We love the spooky season. We love this hot cider, and we love all of the pumpkin carving and the apple picking and all the scary movie marathons for days, okay? Not only do we love the scary movies and all that, but we were also engaged in October. It's her birthday in October. And some of my favorite, most fond memories growing up are in the fall season. It's no secret if you watch my channel for a while now that I love gourmand fragrances and some of those darker, denser, sweeter, flavorful, edible fragrances, right? The ones that make you smell like a snack. That's right, smell like a snack. A lot of that is rooted in the fall season. My grandmother making apple pie. I remember her dicing up and cutting up, green peppers for goulash, and that's a really fond nostalgic smell for me, is green peppers and apple pie. I get a lot of those really cozy fragrance notes that remind me of being a kid and all those really warm memories. So from Halloween to here in America, Thanksgiving, that's one of my favorite periods of time. Anything from, that trick-or-treating and the apple picking and going to pumpkin patches and cideries and all that kind of stuff, to when we get together as a family and have desserts and turkey and all that fun stuff for Thanksgiving. Just one of my absolute favorite periods of time. So it's no wonder that I've also cultivated a serious connection with a lot of these scents, and some of my most fond memories that I've made in the last few years are directly correlated to what I have in front of me right now. So if you're a fan of spicy scents, denser scents, sweeter scents, gourmand scents, definitely stick around, and we are going to chat about what I think is probably one of the best top 10 lists that I've come up with in quite some time. It's actually, there are a few that are similar to last year's. So if you haven't seen my last year's picks as well, definitely go check that out. I think that last year's picks are very solid as well as this year's picks. And there are some similarities. So I will leave a link down in the description below, because I think that my taste never really changes too much. It might vary what I'm picking as far as scents, but the other fragrances and the other lists are very, very similar. So let's start off at number 10. This is a fragrance that has become inadvertently one of my signature scents, and I've only owned this since January, I believe, maybe February. And this has just really become a staple in my wardrobe and my rotation. I have worn a lot of this, as you'll see. This is Chris Collins' Dan Sauvage. It's nearly only 50% full. I've worn a lot of this. If you're a fan of by Kilian's Straight to Heaven, I think you should definitely check this out. It lasts a little bit longer, projects a little bit more. It's a very peppery cedar wood and rum and patchouli, and it's really, really delicious. For all of you out there that might be a little sensitive to patchouli, there's not a whole lot of it in there. It's just kind of there to give some earthiness and a backbone, but mostly a spicy cedar wood with rum. And it's really, really, really delicious. Love that fragrance. Coming in at number 9 is a newer acquisition. I've had this for maybe 2 or 3 months, and I really, really loved it when I first got my nose on it, so I had to pick up a bottle immediately, even though it wasn't really the time of the year to wear it, although I've worn it quite a bit. This is from the house of Prin, and the perfumer behind this house is just, he is an artist. He makes wonderful fragrances. If you're looking on the niche market for stuff that kind of speaks to you on a more artistic level rather than just, I smell good, I think you should definitely give out Prin's work a check. His Strangers collection, which is very affordable, by the way, is wonderful, as well as his 2 other lines. Maybe he only has 1 other line. I'm pretty sure he has 2, but his Prin line and his Strangers line are what I'm most familiar with. So this is Prin, Anatolia. And Anatolia is kind of that cinnamon, date, dessert, apple kind of fragrance. And it's not apple pie. It's more like a dried date with gooey apple and some cinnamon and nutmeg. And there's some musk and some animalic notes in there as well to kind of hold up the fragrance and make it a little bit more interesting so that it doesn't fall into the depths of being kind of compared to something like Ombre Narguilé or Wajan by Parfums de Marly. It's its own beast. It's a very, very good fragrance, and it's definitely got that holiday kind of zap to it. So if you're looking for something that's very inviting and warm, Anatolia is a wonderful choice. Number 8 is one of my more nostalgic fragrances. I've only owned this for a couple of years, or I've wanted to own it for a couple of years, and I finally got it last year. So it's been in my wardrobe for about a year and a half, a year, something like that. And this is just a fragrance that as soon as I smelled it, it was a head over heels moment, and it just took me right back to my childhood camping out in the pines that we grew up in on my family's land. We used to go camping back there in the fall all the time. There would be pine sap, and we would make homemade pancakes on a griddle, a metal griddle that you'd put in the fire, and have the fire percolating, a hand pumped percolator. And yeah, it just reminds me of being outdoor. And yeah, it just reminds me of being outdoors in the pine forest with all that lush greenery and some of the needles, the bedding, the forest bedding, and the smoke, and the maple and the pine sap kind of all melding together. And that is Amber Teutonic by DS and Durga. DS and Durga is really one of those modernist, minimalist type houses, and I really, really love most of what they come out with. I think that they're one of my favorite houses. And I don't think that enough people give them credit or talk about them, but they've definitely cultivated their little niche community, and I am certainly someone who considers themselves a part of that community. Amber Teutonic is just one of my absolute favorite fragrances I've found in the last few years. It's so good, so dense, very freeing, very cathartic when I wear it. So if you're looking for something like that, the wilderness meets this sort of nostalgia, smoke and woods and maple syrup and sap and all those fun family things that you can do on a camping trip, right? Definitely check out Amber Teutonic. Number 7 is a fragrance that I hold very closely to me. It's not one that I wear a ton of just because it's kind of difficult to come by, plus the memories that I have attached to it are kind of bittersweet, so I have to be really in the right mood for it. But this fragrance is actually the last review I did with my best friend Benjamin on this channel before he passed away. This is Slumber House Back. So Benjamin and I used to do reviews together for a while, as well as my friend Adam and I. So we kind of switched back and forth who was doing what. But Ben and I made movies together, and for all of you out there that don't know, I'm an independent filmmaker, and he passed away unexpectedly last October. So this is a fragrance that really reminds me of kind of just us doing our thing, making moves. I wore this a lot for a movie that we were shooting a few years ago. I want to say about three and a half years ago, maybe 4 at this point. But this is a fragrance that is just a masterpiece in my mind. I think it's probably my favorite from Slumber House, either this or Pear and Olive. It's a hoppy brandy, and almost like tarmac. It's really interesting, really delicious, really dense, and I absolutely love that fragrance. It takes me down memory lane, and I absolutely adore it. At number 6, now we're going to a house that's a little bit more mainstream, and I'm definitely loving this fragrance as of the last year. I actually hadn't tried it until last, I think, maybe September, and it quickly became, maybe even November, and it quickly became probably my favorite from the house. I know that it's like one of those that's super discussed, not as much as some of its counterparts, but This is Parfums de Marly Herod. And Herod, to me, is just a wonderful honeyed tobacco with hazelnut, and I absolutely love it. It just makes me feel very cozy and warm. Number 5, we're going to the designer realm of things. This is probably the only mainstream designer on here, and I absolutely love this fragrance. I kind of rejected trying this formulation of it because I can be that way sometimes, but I finally did. I had to blind buy it, unfortunately, in order to get my nose on it. That's the really wonderful upside of living in upstate New York, is you've got no boutiques around at all. You have to go to New York City or Toronto, and one's 3.5 hours away with a border and the other's 5.5 hours away. So here we are. This is Dior Homme Intense. For all of you out there that may be apprehensive about trying the new formulation, from someone who has been in the game for 12 years and owned, I shit you not, 6 bottles, 2 of which were the 2014, and the rest were all the silver collar, 50 ml and 3.4 100 ml bottles. This isn't too different from those. I would say it's 99% what that is, and I really love this. This is just another one of those fragrances that makes me feel sexy. That cocoa vanilla combination with iris is just, it pops. It makes you feel like you're significant in a crowd, and I love that about Christian Dior Homme Intense. Number 4 is a new acquisition in a new house, so I would love it if all of you out there that have a similar taste than mine that may enjoy fragrances from Slumber House, because I see a lot of similarities between this house and Slumber House in the way of this artisanal perfumery, and definitely in that indie category of perfumery. This is from Pineward, and this is called Steading, or Steeding. Steading, I believe is how you pronounce it. My God, this is just like so friggin' good. This is another one that's very, it transports me. It's a nostalgic fragrance. It's very mapley, so I get a lot of maple syrup and a lot of whiskey. It's hoppy, it's earthy, it's just so divine. I love these little bottles, and I think it's got the lasting power of a god. I'm not kidding. I mean, I spray this on. I'm just going to show you real quick. It's very oily. It performs like a beast. It's so good. And it's going to be a staple for sure in my collection from here on out. Number 3 is a newer release from Maison Margiela. And if you hadn't already guessed, you certainly can see here that we have Autumn Vibes. That's right, Autumn Vibes. Autumn Vibes, to me, was a love at first sniff. I bought this right on the spot. It's basically a forest bed. I get a lot of crunchy leaves and maybe some wet trees, and I get that mixed with almost like the cedar pencil shaving vibe, kind of a la Gucci Pour Homme 1. So if you're really yearning for that kind of structure in a fragrance like Gucci Pour Homme 1 had offered, and you certainly don't want to spend the astronomical price that Gucci Pour Homme 1 goes for on eBay, I would definitely recommend trying out Autumn Vibes. I think that it is very similar in construct and similar enough in smell to kind of remind those out there that have had their nose on Gucci Pour Homme 1 that this fragrance is very similar in ways. So I highly recommend it. It's a huge hit for me, and I've been wearing it in even the summertime right now, like every other day. I absolutely cannot get enough of this. I think it is absolutely divine, exquisite, really feels like it's capturing fall in a bottle for me. Number 2 is a fragrance from a fragrance house, both of which I absolutely adore. I own like probably 75% of what comes out of this house, and my God, I mean, this is the best coffee fragrance I've ever come across. I think this and New Harlem are really the staples, and of course New Harlem is discontinued and really just astronomical in price, much like the aforementioned Gucci Pour Homme 1. And this is Kerosene's Follow. This, I cannot tell you how important this fragrance is for me. One of the most important experiences in my life is this sense of making time for family. And my family is very close. So my aunt, my uncle, my grandmother, my grandfather, my mother, we're all very, very close. And one of the things that had been kind of instilled in me from a very early age was the sense of making time for coffee. So at my grandfather's, he makes coffee every single day at 9 o'clock in the morning, at 3:30 in the afternoon. And we would all go over to his house as a family and have coffee together. And this fragrance really, really captures that for me because it's a very dark, bitter coffee with very subtle nuances of sweetness. And my grandfather made nuclear coffee, like blacker, like jet engine feel. Or he does make it that way still. And this, I feel like, really kind of captures that coffee, some maple, which I kind of get from the surrounding area that he lives in. We have a lot of pine forests, a lot of like I said, he makes a lot of flapjacks, and we had a lot of pancakes and stuff growing up. And I get some really, really nice, almost antique wood, a little bit nuanced inside of the fragrance. And there's a lot of like barn wood and stuff that he kind of created into furniture around his house. So that really captures that for me, and it's like such an important fragrance for me. I love this fragrance so much, and I really, really recommend that if you're a coffee lover to try Kerosene Follow if you have not. And number one is a two-way tie again. So if you've seen my other list, it should be of no surprise. We have here the ever so beautiful, and here you can see I'm about to have to get another bottle. So go back and watch my other top 10 list, and you'll hear me say that this bottle was my second bottle. And I just want to say, again, that for all the naysayers out there that think that I like don't go through as much as I do, I really do. When I wear a fragrance because I love it, I go through it rapidly. There are probably 15 fragrances that I've gone through probably four to 7 bottles of that are all niche. And I mean, I don't care about spending the money if it's something that I wear repeatedly. I might have some that I trade off or sell because I get bored of, but there are a core group of fragrances that I don't get that way with, and this is one of them. Naso Mato Baronda is, again, just the importance of this fragrance and the memories that I hold with it. I shot my first film with Ben, or I should say, my first good film. We did shoot one that wasn't very good prior to it that nobody got to really see. But this one reminds me of when we shot our film Dark Chamber, which is a very neon, colored, sexy, violent film. And I just wore this during production of that for the most part. And this was like one of the last times that I was ridiculously impressed with the fragrance to the point where I was obsessive and had to buy a bottle immediately. And of course, again, that bittersweet connection. So really reminds me of my friendship that we created and between Ben and I, and the group that we still have, the familial filmmaking group that we have, and all those wonderful memories that I'll cherish forever. So Naso Mato Baronda also really represents to me what it should smell like to be in the midst of fall, the festivities of fall. So you got some whiskey in the oak cask and some spice, and it's just so freaking good. And that is paired with Ombre Loop by Rania J. And this is one that I found right at the beginning of COVID. This is like my feel-good fragrance. It's something that even my fiance, when she smelled it on me for the first time when I was testing it, she said, "That smells like you." I feel like this is an extension of my personality almost. It's rich, dense, amber vanilla incense, and I absolutely love it. It's in my top 10 favorites. A few of these would make it in my top 10 favorite fragrances of all time. Namely this and Naso Mato Baronda would definitely and probably follow, and maybe one or two more on this list. So if you have not checked out Ombre Loop by Rania J, and you like the sounds of that, a sort of spicy, dense amber vanilla incense, check it out. It is so good. It's very sexy. It's very warm and inviting. So I hope you all enjoyed my top 10 fall list. I hope you're all excited for the season. I'm excited for spooky season, my favorite time of the year. I always binge Breaking Bad right around this time, and I also start playing The Last of Us again right around usually October 1st. So end of September, October 1st is when I'll start playing The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2 and go through that again. I always do that every fall, and yeah, favorite time of the year. Super excited. I hope you all stay well, and I will see you all soon.